We are live on the Bullpen Podcast. Welcome in. We have a special podcast for you tonight. We are happy to be here. I am your host, Chris Krogman, at Shy Bears 1985, along with my man, Adam Kunos, at Kunos19 on the Twitter machine. You can follow the Bullpen Podcast at the Bullpen Pod, 2 E's. We are sponsored by Fanatics, so head on over to Fanatics, get all your Mother's Day authentic hats and arm services, authentic gear. Like we told you last week, we would remind you your mom is the most important woman in your life, so don't forget her this weekend. Very excited to have Jonathan from Baseball Harmony join us tonight to talk some stat nerd stuff at Baseball Harmony on Twitter. baseballharmony.com on the Google machine. Jonathan, how are you tonight, my man?
I'm doing great, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk stats.
Awesome. Adam, how are you tonight, sir?
Doing good. Another actually hot day in Florida that's getting out of control. Summer temperatures already in early May, but it's just going to be triple digits until January of next year.
Fantastic. That sounds wonderful. It's nice and like 53 here in Denver and nice and rainy. How's the weather where you're at, Jonathan? You're in the Midwest, right? Chicago area?
Rocking a 55 in Chicago.
Beautiful.
Well, all day.
Still loving it. It's May.
It's May, man.
50, that's cool.
55 shorts weather in Chicago.
That's beautiful.
That is true.
So, Jonathan, we connected on Twitter after you had, I think you followed me or followed the podcast, something, and we connected. And I went on your website, just kind of started browsing around, really liked what I saw. Baseball has become extremely stat-driven, analytically driven over the past 5-10 years. I mean, Moneyball kind of sparked a lot of it, right? So you created this website using, Bill James is mentioned in Moneyball, talks about, a lot of the on-base percentage, a lot of the statistics that kind of drive winning in baseball. And you took it a step farther. Bill James used the harmonic average to create his power speed numbers. That's all on baseballreference.com. So harmonic average. I mean, I'm reading pretty much directly off your website here, my man. So jump in and take over whenever you want.
Thanks. That's how I introduced it. It came about because this started out as just sort of averages. I wasn't really onto anything yet when I was using regular old average. It wasn't until I used harmonic average, like Bill James did with that power speed number, that lightning struck, and I realized I had something. So you want me to dig into this and how it came about?
Absolutely.
Yes,
please.
So this kind of got started as a slight toward Ricky Henderson on Facebook. Someone said Ricky can't play in today's game because of the sabermetrics world. And I thought, his numbers are pretty sabermetrics godly. What do you mean he couldn't play in today's game? And they said, well, steals are gone. I said, well, steals are gold in the playoffs, so that argument's not great. And he just keeps stealing. It wouldn't just actually stop Ricky from being Ricky. So Ricky's going to be Ricky, and he would do it. So he'd still be a small baller if he was alive today, and he'd be gold. And people were saying, what's a small baller? What's a small baller? And I thought, well, you're right. I need to define this. So I dug in, and I started putting together 3 categories. Small ball and then big ball, which we know are 2 terms everyone uses. And I needed something in the middle. I don't love the name middle ball, but it's the best I could come up with. We call it mid ball. And then I needed categories for them. So I decided to create 3 categories for each style. I used walks, singles, and then I added sacks and steals together to the third stat for small ball. And I took the average. The problem was
sacks. Is that sack flies? Sack.
Both. So I added sack hits and sack flies together to create sacks, and then I added stolen bases. You will also notice this is not net steals. Caught stealing is not part of it. Okay, we can debate that later for why I didn't include it. You don't actually lose the base when you get caught stealing, so it doesn't affect the stat. So I didn't want to do that. So anyway, lose a stolen base because you got stealing on the second run. So anyway, I took the average, and Wade Boggs was top 10 small baller of all time. People were like, yeah. But if you think about it, Wade Boggs was a 24 stolen base guy for his entire career. He had 24 total stolen bases. It's not a small baller. And my number's broken. So I'm like, whatever. Let me go define mid ball. And I went big ball, or I went bases on ball, singles, and doubles. And then the big ball number was going to be bases on balls, extra base hits, and RBI. But I still had a problem. These numbers didn't look right. There were people who had huge amounts of walks and singles, or huge amounts of walks and extra base hits, but didn't have a lot of RBI, but they were still ranking too high. And then I remembered Bill James's power speed number. I changed from regular old arithmetic average, as Pythagoras defined 2,000 years ago, and I used his other average, harmonic average. And harmonic average is special. The equation's on the website. It's not an algorithm. It's not even nearly as tricky as WAR. It's simple, but it weights to the lowest. It weights to the bottom of the three numbers. It's looking for the harmony in the numbers. So if you have three numbers that are pretty high, you're going to outrank someone who has two really high numbers and one really low number. And that's exactly what I want to happen. When I resorted using harmonic average with the equations in there, Wade Boggs went from top 10 small baller to 598th of all time. And that sounds just about right for a guy who's got 24 stolen bases. So when I did that, the system was born. I knew I had it. I knew I had something. I ran middle ball, Pete Rose, top middle baller. Of course, Pete Rose is the top middle baller. It's walks, singles, and doubles. Of course, Pete Rose is the top middle baller. And then I ran big ball, and you know, it just started to fall into place. So I said, okay, I'm going to need to put these together. I took the harmony of the three averages, and I got all ball. All ball became the most all-round, or the all-round most productive offensive players in history. And someone like Ty Cobb is first, and someone like Ricky Henderson is second. And that completely makes sense because those guys did it all. They did it all. They even had power. And they ranked high enough on the power list or on the big ball list that they stayed up and they win. They win the all ball game. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're the most valuable player of all time. That means you're the most all-round, productive offensive player. It's not normalized for eras. It's not normalized for ballparks and things like that. Oh, you know, there's no league average comparison. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take WAR. I'm going to take all ball. I'm going to take WAR. I'm going to take OPS plus. I'm going to take the harmony of those three, and I'm going to find out who's the greatest player of all time. When I did that, after 7 layers of harmonic average, after weighting to the bottom number 7 different times, Babe Ruth still is the greatest player of all time. And the system totally made sense once I was done. Babe Ruth is still in this system after 7 layers of harmonic average, after weighting to the bottom number each time. He wasn't bad enough at anything. He was too good at everything to not still be the greatest player of all time. And baseball harmony was born.
I love it, Jonathan. So, you know, one of the things that I love about baseball and kind of also fight with about baseball is just like eras, right? So you have dead ball era, you have big ball era, you know, steroid era. Do you think that this system kind of accounts for different eras and puts that into perspective?
So what's beautiful about the system is it doesn't fully, but it almost brings a harmony among the eras. And people look at it and they're like, you just compared Ricky Henderson to Ty Cobb pretty legitly. I'm like, I know, right? It's not normalized. I'm not going to say it is. It's not a plus number, but it could be. So, you know, as this evolves and as I bring a database guy on to help me build the back end of that website as a database, not spreadsheets that I'm taking shots of, I'm going to be able to manipulate this where I'm going to go ahead and decide the same way that that MLB decides what was league average for their career to create those plus numbers. I'm going to emulate that and let my database do it. And I'm going to give you an all ball plus number. So you will get area specific. But you may notice that it's quite valuable without that plus number across the eras. I'm glad you brought that up. That was another really shocking part of it. That, well, I'm comparing Ty Cobb to Ricky Henderson. They're almost 100 years apart, 75 years apart, and this is pretty legit. So, yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I feel like it does give some justice to crossed era comparison.
Well, for sure. I mean, you've got, just for everybody at home, your all warps, which is essentially what you're saying is the most valuable players
Yes, sir.
of all time are, top 10 is Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Ty Cobb, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Tris Speaker, Rogers Hornsby, Honus Wagner, Stan Musial, Lou Gehrig. You got guys from 1897 all the way to 1986.
And those are the top 10 players. I'm sorry. Those are my top 10 guys.
And that. I mean, those are clearly all Hall of Famers. You don't have some random guys in here that, obviously don't belong in this top 10. I mean, Wade Boggs, great hitter of all time. Tony Gwynn, great hitter of all time. But all around baseball player, all around, warp guy isn't in there. So I absolutely love it. One of the questions I had presented you with was kind of real time, right? Like, so if and when this becomes something maybe fantasy baseball players could use, or
that's exactly
people who like to wager on baseball games could use to potentially get an edge. That's kind of piqued my interest because I do use a lot of the OP or weighted OPS against right-handed pitchers and left-handed pitchers, things like that, to kind of get edges against the books. And this is something that I think is another like awesome stat that could be, once it's developed into real time and you can apply it across teams and everything like that is so fascinating how statistically harmonious baseball breaks down.
There it is. And it just keeps striking me like lightning. Every time I turn around, there's another thing here. When I look at those lists, I see books that I need to write. There's stories there. That top 10 you mentioned should be a book. There should be a book about the top 10. And you said it spans 100 years or 90-something years. But then it has a huge fantasy value. For those of you out there, this has not gone paid. This is not a premium site yet. It is free. Get on it because the 2021 analysis is everybody you should have picked for your fantasy baseball teams. And if there's anybody on those lists who are still sitting out there, they're just underperforming right now. Keep your eye on them. The other thing is that I went out there and I did run it real time just because you asked me to as of Monday night. So through May 2nd, I ran it and I've got those numbers ready if you wanted to talk about that. The current through April, small baller, middle baller, big baller, and all warps. Do you want to chat about those for a second?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right,
for real.
So through May 2nd, April, the first 22 games of the season, your top 5 small ballers have a surprise in here. So here they go. Miles Straw, no surprise. Tommy Edman, he's got some steals. Julio Rodriguez should be up there. Manny Machado. And then we got Tyler O'Neill. And everyone's like, whoa. Harrison Bader's got more. How could Tyler O'Neill be above him? Sacks are in there. And after 22 games, Tyler O'Neill's harmony is higher. He's got a 9, a 9, and a 7. We got an 11, a 6, and a 7. The 6 drags you down. Harrison Bader's 7th overall, but he's not beating Tyler O'Neill. He's going to pass him, obviously. But through the first 22 games, your 5 small ballers are Miles Straw, Tommy Edman, Julio Rodriguez, Manny Machado, and Tyler O'Neill. You know Manny Machado's not going to cover off the ball. For him to show up here means he needs to be on your team. And if you look at the leagues out there with Manny Machado on their team, these guys got to be in the top 3. This guy's on fire. Mm-hmm. He's all round on fire. In fantasy baseball, small ballers are gold. So here's our middle ballers. Matt Olson. Everybody's talking about the lasers. He's shooting all over the place. Yeah, those are lasers. He's not hitting home runs. He's hitting laser beams everywhere. Eduardo Escobar. Manny Machado, 3rd on this list. So he's number 4, small ball. He's number 3, middle ball. Josh Bell, rocking that number 4 spot. And Ke'Bryan Hayes is doing the 5th middle ball spot. For our big ballers, even though everyone knows how amazing Jose Ramirez is, I still say he's underrated. To me, he's like Lou Gehrig. Everyone knows Lou Gehrig's amazing. You really don't know how amazing he was.
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez is the top big baller right now. Well, it's changed, right? It's Wednesday. This was Monday night. Rizzo's number 2 big baller. Mike Trout's number 3 big baller. Seiya Suzuki is the 4th big baller. He'd probably shed a tear. He'd cry his eyes out knowing he's standing right next to Mike Trout right now. And then Nolan Arenado. Nolan Arenado's Mr. Big Ball, right?
Right.
He's got a great big ball number this year. So you're going to notice Nolan Arenado completely disappears from the list of our all WARPs, our most valuable. So let's take those three numbers, take the harmony, and we're going to see who's the all-round most productive player through 22 games. Manny Machado. He's on two of the lists and really high on the big ball list. Francisco Lindor. I didn't mention him yet, but he's high enough on all three lists. He's number 2 all ball. You remember, it's just if you don't have anything bad enough, you're going to be really good in this system, and because it weights the lowest. Bryce Harper's our number 3 all-round all-baller. Anthony Rendon is our number 4, and Jose Ramirez is our number 5 all-round all-baller. When I bring in WAR and I bring in OPS, I get my all-warps. Your 5 most valuable players to start this season has 2 players we haven't even talked about yet because their WAR and their OPS plus are off the chart. Manny Machado is the most valuable player currently. But, I mean, that's not a surprise if you look at fantasy baseball leagues right now. Tommy Edman is the 2nd most valuable player right now because of the small ball game.
Wow.
J.P. Crawford is the 3rd most valuable player because everyone, you keep forgetting about him, but he's on fire. He's all-star material all day right now. And then we got Jose Ramirez, the 4th most valuable player right now. And a guy we haven't even talked about because he lurks low enough on these lists or high enough on these lists is Juan Soto. With all that WAR and that OPS plus.
Crushing it.
Juan Soto is the 5th most valuable player right now. Where's Arenado? Where's Anthony Rizzo? Their small ball games are too small. In fact, Arenado didn't have a small ball game at all. He had a goose egg. When I put a 0 in the denominator, you get an undefined. He doesn't even have a small ball game right now. So until he gets a steal or a sack, he's not even on this list. When he does, he'll skyrocket to the top. I have toyed with the idea of putting a 0.1 in for the zeros to just get him a number. I may do that someday, but for now, with no small ball game in my harmonic system, he's not an MVP right now. Give me some small ball if you want to be the most valuable player. So this did go live. It was totally cool, and people were like, "Oh man, that's why that guy's crushing us. He's got Lindor. I thought he was not that great." Yeah, well, when you put it all together, Lindor is a fantasy baseball god right now. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris. This system has huge applications to the fantasy baseball world. It's still free. There may come a day where I need it to go like, "Hey, look at Baseball Harmony. You love it? You want to use it for fantasy baseball? Give me $2."
Right. Well, even like Fangraphs, is just just donations.
Exactly.
They're just donations now. A couple things stand out to me there. Adam, do you have any questions you want to jump in here with?
No, I mean,
I'm not over here, man.
I'm absolutely loving it. I mean, I love baseball numbers. I'm going through the website right now, just looking at all your first basemen. You got Lou Gehrig on the list, Jimmy Fox, Cap Asen, Roger Connor. I mean, Jeff Bagwell, Frank Thomas, Jim Thome. I mean, these are all legit Hall of Fame players on this list. And for those of you who are listening, take the time to go through this website. Try to find your favorite players from your favorite team on the site because you think they're good players overall, but when you compare them to legendary players, where they fall on the list is going to surprise you on exactly where they fall.
What a perfect example, Adam. Wait, where is it? There's Rhino, my favorite player to ever walk the earth.
Yeah,
I used to
Ryan
be like,
Sandberg.
Dude's top 5 second baseman of all time. When you look at the numbers, he's the 12th best second baseman of all time, and my own system said that about my own favorite player. It's true.
I love it.
But it's
where's Ken Griffey fall on this? Ken Griffey Jr. fall on this.
So Ken Griffey Jr., I think if I just remember, because he comes up so much, I believe he's the 38th greatest player of all time. Let me check that.
Man, it makes me sad.
Yeah, and you got to remember, so this is a cumulative number. Very, very good point. This is a cumulative number. I do have, you must have been on my website, I have the harmonic game rates of these. I have a small ball hugger, the harmonic game rate. I do the exact same number, but per game. I have a middle ball hugger, big ball hugger, and an off ball hugger, where I take them per game, and then all of a sudden, your Negro League players come flying out of nowhere, just out of nowhere, because in June of 2021, Major League Baseball and Baseball Harmony, everybody approved a huge swath of Negro League Baseball stats as verified. So now they're real stats. So now I can run numbers on them. And people like Oscar Charleston show up as the greatest all-round player per game. When Buck O'Neil said he's the greatest player he's ever seen. I got chills when that happened. It's magic when you hit sort and Oscar Charleston sitting at the top of that list, just like Buck O'Neil said he should be. You get misty. This is history.
It's a lot, man. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to go through this. Yeah,
this is American.
You're right. Oh, brother, dude, goosebumps.
So I get misty, man. I get nerdy and geeked out about this. There's stories. There's books to write about this stuff. Like I say, please clone me so I could just write the books.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, you could definitely write like 6 or 7 books just from your website on stats alone, and
exactly
you can tell so many stories that you probably wouldn't even know of just from looking at your website. So again, baseballharmony.com. Go out, check it out, and definitely follow Jonathan at Baseball Harmony on Twitter.
Thank you.
One thing that stuck out to me there, Jonathan, two guys you mentioned, Crawford and Rodriguez. Mariners are stroking, right? They're kicking ass, leading the West, I think. And then Escobar and Lindor, both Mets. Mets are doing very well.
Without
obviously
DeGrom.
They have without DeGrom. They have a lot of talent around them. Their pitching staff is really coming out hot, but it's just interesting. You get more of these guys that are the top of these small ball numbers, top of these middle ball, top overall warps. Obviously makes for a good team. So yeah, man, super.
It gives you that all roundness. It gives you that 86 Mets. It gives you that 82, Cardinals. Just these all round teams that they'll beat you 15 ways. They'll just good luck beating them. They're gonna if you let them on base, you are in trouble.
For sure. Good stuff, man. Well, Jonathan, it was awesome to have you on. You can hop off if you'd like, hang out and listen if you want. Adam and I are just going to bust through the rest of our interesting, recaps of everything. But yeah, man, we really appreciate you jumping on here. BaseballHarmony.com, at Baseball Harmony on Twitter. Phenomenal stuff, man. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Check out the pitching numbers. Check out the pitching numbers. I released pitching numbers about 2 months ago. There's 5 new pitching numbers out there. War Viper is the most valuable pitchers of all time. It's the most marketable baseball stat you've ever heard. It's called War Viper. Anybody who loves Cobra Kai will love War Viper. Check them out. Maybe you guys could have me on someday again so we could talk pitching. Okay.
100%, man. Absolutely will do. And we're
thanks so much.
I'm gonna hang. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
No, I was just saying, I was gonna hang up and listen, and I look forward to hearing from you guys again.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
All right,
have a good one, John.
Bye. You too.
Awesome. That was Jonathan from baseballharmony.com. Super cool stuff. Super cool website. Looking forward to using more of that data just to break down baseball in general and historically for the sport that we all love. It's a great insight. Across all eras, across all players. Really, really a fun conversation right there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a conversation I would love to. I mean, we could just legitimately talk almost 2 hours worth of baseball stats, just going through, breaking down each position by player, who we think where players should be listed, where they actually are listed. That's just gold. That is pure baseball gold right there, in my opinion.
For sure. We'll definitely have Jonathan on again.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk baseball, talk, maybe we'll get him on around the All-Star break, talk the first half of the season, get some live updates on Baseball Harmony, talk some pitching, play some MVP bets based on, his warps and play some Cy Young bets, because that'll be a shit ton of fun to really see. Can we, does the money back what he's talking about, assuming these players, continue to perform at the level they're at. But let's go through, Adam, the weekend recap. We had 3 good series. Phillies, Mets, Angels, White Sox, Astros, Blue Jays. Looks like you and I were more aligned this time. I'll go ahead and take the first one since
as you should.
New York Mets and the combined no-hitter thrown against the Philadelphia Phillies, which as much as I love beating a division rival. The fact that the Phillies have been no hit the most time in baseball is my favorite thing in like all the land. 20 times the Phillies have been no hit. Mets beat the Phillies 2-1 in that series, outscored them 14-10. Yeah, just a fantastic series. Mets are now 18-9 plus 4.5 over Miami, who is in second place in the division with a plus 31 run differential. Philadelphia falls to 11-13, 5.5 games back of the Mets. So still early, still a race. The rest of the division is the Braves sitting, I think, in third. Nope. Yeah, so Philly in third, Atlanta in fourth at 12-15. Washington, a respectable 9-16 considering everything that they got going on. Just a minus 25 run differential, which is absolutely atrocious, but that's okay. They sold everybody last year. I'm sure Washington will be bouncing back soon enough. So yeah, 2-1 series win, no hitter, 5 pitchers, whatever. They had 6 walks. We just won't talk about that part, but yeah, good stuff from the New York Metropolitans over the weekend. Adam, your White Sox took on the Angels of Los Angeles. Please tell us about that series.
So it was a 4-game series. They ended up splitting the series. It was like kind of an alternating win. Angels take game 1, White Sox take game 2. Angels come back, take game 3. White Sox take game 4. Runs scored by the team were pretty even across the board. Angels got shut out twice, so the White Sox recorded their first 2 shutouts of the season. Angels scored 11 runs in the series. White Sox scored 13. Really, the talk of this series, though, was at the tail end of the series with Dylan Cease just lighting it up against Anaheim. I'm still going to call them Anaheim because Angels are based in Anaheim, so I will still call them the Anaheim Angels. But after the series, Angels sit at 15-10, 1 game over Houston with a 14-plus run differential. White Sox are 10-13. They're 4.5 back of Minnesota, negative 19 run differential. Teams are very even across the board, in my opinion. These are 2 teams that were made to compete, the White Sox more than the Angels. But this was actually a closer series than I thought. There was a time in the series where I thought the White Sox were going to lose 3 out of 4, and I was going to be just devastated, but they ended up taking a split of this series, and I'm not going to call it a good series for the White Sox, but it was an okay series for the White Sox. There's a couple things that could have gone better for them in this series. Dallas Keuchel, I will say, I don't know what's going on with him. He is not the same pitcher that we saw in 2020. He's kind of reverted back to his 2015, 2016 seasons, where he's just giving up hits left and right. He's not really controlling the ball right now. The ball's jumping over the plate. So, again, interesting series for the White Sox overall. And now they are taking on the Cubs right now. They have a 4-3 lead on the north side. Short 2-game series with the Cubbies. So, yeah, it's just a weird time for the White Sox. April was a bit of a rocky month, and then hopefully May is a little more friendlier to the White Sox.
White Sox offense just isn't producing the way they need it to either. It's slowly. I mean, I can't even say it's necessarily slowly getting better. They've definitely struggled in, to create runs. They are stroking left-handed pitching right now, with a weighted run created at plus 138. So they are crushing left-handed pitching, but that is not the majority of pitchers in Major League Baseball. Right-handed pitching seems to dominate, and the Chicago White Sox are the last team in the league in weighted runs created. But they have the offensive talent to turn it around, but they're just struggling a little bit not right now. The Angels, man, Man, I had a buddy say that, he thought the Angels were going to win the West this year. And I was like, I just don't see it. And I must have forgot Mike Trout was out all last year. And now he's back and they're performing quite well. So Angels 15-10 and leading that division, 7-3 in their last 10. They are playing extremely good baseball. Minnesota leads the AL Central at 15-9. So they are playing extremely well as also. Cleveland in second at 11-13. The Twins are plus 29 in the run differential category. So those are some interesting divisions through the first month. Last game of the series, or last game of the weekend that we talked about last week was the Astros versus Blue Jays. Toronto won 2 out of 3. Both wins in the series by 1 run. Houston actually outscored Toronto 14-12. Houston's now 14-11 in second in the AL West. 1 game back of the Angels with a +8 run differential. Toronto's 15-10, 3.5 games back of the New York Yankees, which that's just mind-boggling because the Angels lead the West with a 15-10 record. So we knew that AL East was going to be tough, but to be, 3.5 games back of the Yankees, who are 18-6, and on an absolute tear of a winning streak, 11 games. We saw this from the Yankees last year where they rattled off, 13?
Yeah, 13 wins in a row.
It's just this is just nuts. I mean, their offense is good. Their pitching has been great. Cortez and Cole are awesome. Montgomery's been pitching well. Yankees are here again, folks. I hope you're ready for a long season of the Yankee fans because they're not quiet. But that's okay. We appreciate every baseball fan here on the Baseball Pod or the Bullpen Pod. Baseball Pod, Bullpen Pod. It's all the same. We're talking baseball.
Absolutely.
So as a quick recap over, our picks, both of us had the Mets going 2-1. That happened. Adam had the series with the Angels 2-2. I had it at 3-1. Adam takes that one, but obviously let everybody know he was a little concerned that it could be a 3-1 series.
Very concerned. I think the second game, I thought it was going to be close. The White Sox, I think, game 3, they were storming back and only came down from a 6-run deficit and came back to almost win it, but lost 6-5. So they clawed back in that game, which I thought that was going to be kind of the little spark that they needed. The offense was going to click right there. But again, we talked about this. The offense has not yet been there. I do think the offense will be there. I do think this offense will show up. It's just taking a little longer. I think that Sox fans would like to see. But we've had some injuries. Johan Makata is doing a rehab assignment in Charlotte. Eloy Jimenez is still out with the hamstring. So we get these 2 players back. I think this offense starts to click.
This feels like a running theme.
You know what?
It's like a 2-year running theme. And I'm not saying you're making excuses at all. I'm saying what's going on that, Chicago keeps running into these consistent injuries that, they I don't know, maybe they need to look at that more with a magnifying glass and get their guys healthy because tons of baseball talent there. Don't want to see that go to waste and them not be able to capitalize. And Dylan Cease just ridiculous on Monday. 11. I can't remember how many Ks he ended up with. He had at least 11 when I turned it on. I think in like the 7th, and that was just, or maybe it was the 6th, but he was throwing lights out, flame throwing.
Let me look that up real quick. 7 innings, 1 hit, 11 strikeouts, no walks, 3-1 ERA of 2.48. I mean, that's just on fire right now.
Yeah, for sure. He's having a great start to his year. So hopefully his teammates can get their poop in a group and be better.
Yes.
But We did have some very interesting news come down from the league office. Trevor Bauer suspended for 2 years with no pay from the MLB. It will lead to a 324 total games of suspension. He won't be eligible to return until the 19th game of 2024. He's unpaid, so he'll forfeit the rest of his 3-year, $102 million contract. Dodgers have already paid his full $38 million from last season and just $4 million of this season. Adam, we talked about this before. I think we both agreed that I don't think let's talk about the flip side. Trevor Bauer is also suing Major League Baseball for something like, I can't even remember what the number is. I want to say it's $35 million, which doesn't really feel like enough, if I'm being honest. If Bauer thinks that, he's missing out on $60 million, he's only suing for 35. It's almost like he's already plea bargaining himself down. Number one, Adam, whose side are you on here? The courts in California did not press charges on Bauer or released him from any penalties or anything like that. But Major League Baseball thought that there was enough to, I guess, question his character. Bad for the game, bad for business. Rough sex is not okay in Major League Baseball, essentially, is what they're saying.
If you're asking who I stand with, I'm going to stand with Major League Baseball on this decision. It's just an awful situation that you want to see any player in, but you're making a stance by saying, grant the courts found innocent, there were no charges filed by the courts. However, Major League Baseball says you were put in this situation and you had these accounts filed against you. That's bad image for baseball. That's a bad image for your team, yourself, the rest of the players. You had to put the Dodgers on kind of standby on what they're going to do. Put you not play the entire year.
Trade for Max Scherzer is what they did. They turned around and trade for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner.
It's obviously they replaced him with Turner and Matt Scherzer as soon as that happened, or right before his suspension was handing down. So, I will side with Major League Baseball in this one. I think they made the right decision to suspend him for 2 years without pay. I don't think we will ever see Bauer in a Major League uniform ever again. I'll kind of put my on that, saying that I think his career ends with the Dodgers. Only pitched a handful of games in 2021, and it's a bad ending. But I think baseball will kind of move on from this once kind of dust settles from this. Once the story kind of just fades away, baseball will move on from this. You have a lot of good baseball stories coming up. You got the All-Star game in Los Angeles this year. What they're supposed to host in 2020, they will now host in 2022. So I think baseball will kind of move away from this. It's going to take some time, but I think baseball will move away from the story and kind of see it fade into the background. Unless Bauer, again, we believe he's going to sue Major League Baseball. I don't know exactly what the details of that lawsuit will be, but I'm assuming he's going to appeal the suspension, probably countersue, and try to at least get some money from this, because I believe he thinks that he is still guaranteed money off his contract. I had to look into his contract, see what is guaranteed out of the pay, what is not guaranteed, and if the Dodgers somehow breached the contract in this, which I don't believe they did.
Do you think he has a lawsuit case for some amount of his money?
It's hard to tell at this point. I would have to go back and look exactly what Major League Baseball has set with domestic abuse and their stance and what they have set in their rules and what Bauer's charges were. I have to look at the lawsuits, kind of compare notes from both sides, see if Major League Baseball does have a good stance. And yeah, what you did is in line with our rules on domestic violence, and we have every right to suspend you without pay from the game.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think we'll see Bauer again in a Major League Baseball uniform. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, no matter what the law says, this is a job, right? So people get fired for shit they say on Twitter from real jobs or like normal everyday jobs. So you know, even if you didn't like sexually assault this woman, there's a good chance you still probably roughed her up a bit. And that's assault, you know, it's a crime. And whether or not you got actually convicted or not is maybe substantial in the eyes of your employer, and you are going to serve penalty for that. So did he breach contract? We don't know. Like, I don't know, you know, attorney Adam Kunos is going to look into that for us, and he will let us know in the future if Bauer was in breach of contract or the Dodgers were. But no big deal. Trevor Bauer, I honestly have already – this is not a story for me anymore. I don't care. The only reason I even bring it up is because it's in the notes, for one. And two, it was on ESPN or MLB TV or something that he was suing. Maybe it was an athletic story, but I honestly do not care. Trevor Bauer. You know what I am thankful for? I'm thankful the Mets don't have to deal with this bullshit, because that would have been one more feather in their cap of just what the fuck is happening in New York. You know, they had a slew of, you know, out drinking and driving from their last GM, sexual assault from the GM before that, and the manager. They just had a whole slew of shit that went wrong for them. And this was just the first one of something they avoided. And now they just avoided another, you know, kind of pitfall by letting Robinson Cano go. We had, I don't know if everybody knows this, but baseball reduced the amount of players from 28 to 26 last Monday. So your team, your favorite team, had to either option a player down to the minors if they had options left, or they could release them outright, or they could send them down to the minors and hope they clear waivers or, you know, whatever. So Robinson Cano gone. He's a $50 million player, whatever the hell they're paying him. So Steve Cohen, richest man in baseball, just said, that's fine. We'll just give him his money and let him walk. But we have the Mets numbers from the combined no-hitter, if you would like to hear them. And I know Adam does, because he's a huge Mets fan on the other side of being a Sox fan, because, you know, we're a good team player here on the Bullpen Pod. I support the Sox, he supports the Mets. So if we ever meet in the finals, you know, we'll worry about that, or the World Series.
So funny you mentioned that. My brother-in-law is a huge Mets fan. He is besides you, one of the biggest Mets fans I know. He reminds me that every time that the Mets and Cubs meet up. His dad's a Yankee fan, but they have season tickets to the Mets. And I believe his brother was at Citi Field either today or a couple days ago with their little kid, and they were getting pictures on the field with Eduardo Escobar, a lot of the players. And Chris is probably going, what the hell?
It sounds fun.
It's fun. I love that.
Sounds fun. And I don't have money to fly out to New York in the middle. My day was ridiculously hectic. I wouldn't have made it. But thanks for the invite, Kunos family. I do appreciate it. But it's good. And I'm not joking. I do like the Sox. I'm in several, you know, Chicago-based chats, and I gamble on the White Sox quite a bit and lose a shit ton of money every time I do. So now it's become a running joke that every time I bet on the White Sox, they lose. So now it's just become, don't bet on the White Sox, just leave it alone.
Exactly. But Chris, give us the rundown of all the Mets pitchers that were used for your combined no-no.
So Tyler McGill started out the game, 5 innings pitched, had 5 strikeouts and 3 walks. He has started out the year fantastic. I think he at this point was 4-0. They lost today 12-3 or 12-9 or whatever, and I don't know if McGill even got the decision, but he did not. He pitched. He had a good game. He just didn't get the decision or whatever. Drew Smith pitched 1 1/3 innings, had 4 Ks and 1 walk. That is ridiculous. Struck out everybody he faced. Joely Rodriguez, that the Mets traded Miguel Castro for to the Yankees, had 1 inning pitched and threw 2 walks. Like I said, they walked a lot of folks. Seth Lugo had 2/3 of an inning pitched, and then Edwin Diaz, who has been he was part of the Jared Kelnick trade 2 years ago, along with Cano from the Mariners, and Diaz has gotten a shit ton of flack from Mets fans, myself included. He has blown a save this year already, but he has had some tough outings. But he had an electric ninth inning, striking out the side, got the save. Combined no hitter in the books. Like I said, 6 walks, so yuck. But I was telling my brother-in-law about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's not that really, not really a big deal when the bullpen's involved." I'm like, "Bro, you don't really see complete game no hitters anymore. It's almost always a combined no hitter now, just based on the analytics. We are a lot, time of baseball that we are in. Pitchers get pulled, shit, dude.
Glenn Kershaw.
Thank you. Was pulled with a perfect game in the 7th inning in the first 2 weeks of the season. So, whatever. I get it. It's not as cool as Nolan Ryan throwing all his no-hitters, perfect games and whatnot, but still really fun. Still really cool to watch. Probably the most excited I got at watching a Mets game this year. I was on my couch screaming, trying not to wake my kids up. So
I thought I heard something down here. I thought I could hear you from Florida.
Yeah, good times though. So
I think no hitters are fine. I don't think we're gonna see what we saw last year with the amount of no hitters. Yeah, the amount of no hitters that were thrown last year, just alone the first half last year, and Cleveland being the brunt of those no hitters being thrown last year. It was just ridiculous. I think I'm not gonna say fluke when it comes to no hitters, just how ridiculously good pitching was last year as a whole. I don't think we'll see that again this year. I think managers are gonna be a little more smart with their pitching staffs, a little more cautious with letting their pitchers go 7-8 innings. I don't think we'll even see that many complete games by pitchers this year. So
I know I'm gonna text you after this, and I know what I want to dig into next week, because there's a big conversation that's going on around all of baseball right now with kind of something you just made me think about with the amount of no hitters that there were last year and how good pitching was last year and kind of how hitting's down this year. So let's talk about that next week, because I think it's a pretty good big topic. But Adam, good stuff so far, man. I really enjoyed the conversation with Jonathan, the recap, Mets no hitter, Bauer's a fleeting thought. He gone. I don't care about that anymore. But what have we learned from the first calendar month of the season, April? What did we learn? Let's do a quick recap of the standings. Yankees lead the ALS, Twins lead the AL Central, Angels lead the AL West, the New York Mets lead the NL East, the Milwaukee Brewers lead the Central, the LA Dodgers lead the West. I have fucking 4 out of 6 right now, because I picked Seattle to win the West and I picked the Sox to win the Central. But I feel confident that both those teams will bounce back. Like I said, Seattle's hitting the cover off the ball. Angels will forever be hurt, so I'm sorry, but I don't believe in this April yet. But hopefully they stay healthy and can do it. But whatever, good for them. What do you think we learned in April, Adam? I think we learned that we started the season kind of freaking ridiculous. There's an almost an annoying amount of baseball games every single day, which last year was there wasn't enough, but now it's just holy shit, dude. There's a 14-game slate today again. We got 4 double headers before 1 o'clock. What the hell is happening? And don't get me wrong, I love having the games on in the background while I work, but man, I think them trying to catch the schedule up is just. I'm just glad we haven't seen a lot of injuries. What do you think, Adam?
I'm going to agree with you on that last part, the amount of injuries that we have not seen. And I am going to knock on wood for that one. Just because, like you said, this season just felt like we jump-started the season. I felt like this was just all right, spring training's here. Nope, we're just going to skip it and jump right into the regular season. Let's just get this show on the road. But as I look at the standings, again, very early in the year, I'm not going to put too much weight into the standings. Every team in the NL West right now is at 500 or above. That's not going to stick for very much longer. Arizona, Colorado, as good as some runs that they've had, they're going to kind of slow down a little. Unfortunately, they cannot keep up with the rest of the division. Milwaukee, St. Louis, just who we thought we were going to be fighting for that top spot in NL Central. They'll still keep putting up ridiculous numbers over the season. I think Milwaukee is going to take control of that division. I think they'll start widening their gap in May, going into June. The Mets, Chris, again, I picked the Mets in the offseason to be the NL East rep. Obviously, you picked them too. They're a good team this year. I think they got the talent. They got a good manager in Buck Showalter. I think it's the right manager at the helm for the Mets right now. So Miami, I mean, they had a good April. Don't get me wrong. They kind of remind me of the Royals last year, who got up to a really good start, then faded in the second month. Miami is going to fade. Atlanta, this is a team that really confuses me right now, just with how good of a year they ended last year. Obviously, clinching the World Series in Houston, getting that fourth title for the franchise. Getting off to that rough start, I think it's more that World Series thing, or I think it's just, yeah, you had the celebration, you got the rings, you got the banner, you did a celebration of last year, that's fine. Now you got to pick it up. Now you got to say, yeah, we're world champions. We want to try to run that again, but they just haven't played up to a World Series contenders early in the season. When I switched to the American League, I'll start in the AL Central. Twins, we thought they were going to be sellers over the offseason. Maybe that Carlos Correa trade or signing in the offseason did a lot more for that franchise than we thought it was going to be. A lot of people question, why would you go to Minnesota? They're a small market team. They're not going to be very good. They got to deal with Chicago. They swept Chicago already, so they got 3 games up on the White Sox already. And they're looking like a good team. They got a couple injuries that they're dealing with. Miguel Sano, one of their big hitters, is on the IL right now. I mean, New York Yankees, they're going to stick around this year. They're going to be a good team this year, just the way they're playing. And Houston, Los Angeles, and Seattle, they're going to be probably jogging for that AL West. I don't think the Angels will be able to keep up with Seattle and Houston. I think Seattle makes that jump into the lead for that division soon. Hopefully they don't wait too long like they did last year. The standings, if I had to put it in a nutshell, do not tell the full story.
Absolutely not, especially this early in the season. But we have seen a lot of divisional games, like you said.
Yeah.
Sox have already played the Twins. Mets have had multiple series against Philadelphia already. They've had 2 series against Philadelphia. Played Atlanta and Washington one time each. I don't think they've played Miami yet. But no, they definitely don't tell the story yet. What I would like to ask you, Adam, is you have Baltimore, Kansas City, Texas, Washington, Cincinnati, and Arizona as all of your divisional basement dwellers. Of those teams, who do you think is the biggest surprise that you didn't see being as bad as they are?
I'm going to go Cincinnati. I thought they'd be a little better this year, but they only have, if I'm looking at this correctly, they're 3-20. They're at a 130 winning percentage. They're 1-9 or last 10. They've already got a negative 68 run differential. I mean,
it's more than double anybody else. Like, the Baltimore Orioles have the Royals are minus 39. So my math's a little off there, but holy shit, man. They're terrible. They're super terrible. And Castillo has been on IL since the beginning of the year. They should have traded him in the offseason. Like if you're dumpster fire sailing, just do it all. Yeah, Cincinnati is god awful. I didn't think Texas would be a basement dweller. I thought that would be Oakland. I mean, they're only one game apart, but Texas added a lot of talent in the offseason, and that's kind of a surprise to me. I thought, having Baltimore, Detroit, Kansas City basically all having the same record is pretty surprising to me. As far as like, it's shocking only in that they're basement dwellers, but still 500. But Arizona, as as much as they might be the worst team in the NL West, they have some talent on that team. Zach Gallen is fucking awesome. That dude can pitch. Humberto Castillo pitched a great game the other day. They are not a horrible team. I bet you they can beat the brakes off of Cincinnati, Kansas City, Detroit, and Baltimore like no problem. So D-backs are playing fairly good baseball. They have a lot of good young talent hitting wise as well. So don't sleep on the Diamondbacks. I mean, it sucks because they're in just the best division in baseball. I mean, the top three are probably better than most of the American League. So those are my kind of surprises from the first month of the season. Suzuki Seiya from the Cubs, like Jonathan mentioned, being one of the best kind of overall players right out the gate is pretty surprising to me that he came in and just was ready, lit the world on fire. So any specific players that stand out to you, Adam, as having a good start to the season?
I mentioned earlier Dylan Cease of the White Sox. I mean, he's just absolutely throwing gas right now. He is. The running joke is the mustache is kind of creating his power. That's the running joke on Sox Twitter. But I mean, he's just having a great season so far. Pulling up his stats right now because he's having probably one of the better seasons of his career. He has a 2.48 ERA, 3 wins, 39 strikeouts already. His whip is 0.93. His opponent batting average is 165. He's already pitched 29 innings. I mean, he's just having a great season so far. Liam Hendricks has already have 7 saves, so he's having a typical Hendricks year where he'll probably be up in the 20s, maybe 30s with saves this year. But again, one thing I can't get over my head is Joey Votto of Cincinnati. He's pretty much on the worst team in baseball right now. You have to think if Cincinnati continues on his trend where they're probably going to be the worst team in baseball, does he get traded from Cincinnati? Do the Reds finally pull the plug and trade that longtime club veteran out of Cincinnati, or does he stay with Cincinnati and just ride it out?
It's not even going to be his choice. Cincinnati has to trade him.
Yeah.
I just don't see it sticking around. Your discussion of Dylan Cease made me think of an article I saw on MLB.com the other day, the 10 nastiest new pitchers to watch in 2022. And since we don't get to talk about the positives a lot of these, bad teams have, I thought this would be a decent thing to touch on real quick. Hunter Green's fastball from the Cincinnati Reds touches 102 miles an hour. That's absolutely insane. Andrew Haney's slider from the Dodgers is just a big, sweeping, nasty pitch. Mariners number 6 prospect, Matt Brash's slider. The Twins, Johan John, I bet it's John, or it's just spelled different. John Durans, and I'm probably completely wrong. I'm a dick, but whatever. 96 mile an hour sinker. This thing is fucking gross, dude. Go watch these clips of these pitches. Luis Servino from the Yankees has a 95 mile an hour cutter. Luis Luteji, he's another Yankee with a sweeping slider. The Ethan Roberts from the Cubs has another slider that's just disgusting. Nick Martinez from the Padres has an awesome changeup, which is a pitch that if you have it, it is so multiverse against different or both sides of the plate batters, and then Alex Cobb's sinker is phenomenal as well, with like 86 miles an hour and 37 inches of just drop and 14 inches of break. That's fucking nasty. And then the guy I touched on for the Mets, Tyler McGill, started out very, very well this year, and he has a pretty awesome slider as well. If you have a chance, go check out that article, 10 Nasty New Pitchers to Watch in 2022. So those are the things, like we said, are our April takeaways. Adam mentioned a bunch of good pitchers off, or a bunch of good players off from the White Sox, because that's all we do is watch White Sox and Mets, and we try not to turn this into that podcast, but sure as shit, that's what happens. But
we can't help it. I mean,
we can't help it. We like our teams. I mean,
if you can tell by the hat and the sweatshirt that we are both wearing.
Yes, go Mets, go White Sox.
Exactly.
Are there any overhyped teams? Adam kind of touched on the Twins. I touched on the Angels a little bit. Yankees, I think, are for real. Tampa Bay is always in it. I think, man, even though Toronto's 5 games over 500, they're still kind of not dominating like I thought they would, but they're still playing pretty well.
Yeah, they're 5 games. They're 5 games over, but they have a -7 run differential. So that offense that we saw last year with Biggio, Bichette, Guerrero, Toronto's kind of the East version of the White Sox right now. Just that offense hasn't really clicked yet. They haven't found that right mojo to get that offense clicking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their expected win-loss is 12-13, so that kind of speaks to what we're saying, right? Like minus 7-8 run differential. Their offense isn't clicking yet. They're just winning ball games with pitching, and that bullpen's kind of creepy. So their starting pitching has been pretty solid, though. With even though Barrios is starting out pretty crappy, Kevin Gossman is there, and he's good.
Yeah, and if I had to look at maybe one more team that is overhyped, where are they? The Pirates. They're only 10-14 right now. They're only 4 games over. They have a -37 run differential. They haven't been really competitive over the last couple of years, but are we finally seeing the Pirates be a competitive baseball team this year? They have a bunch of young talent that they've kind of acquired over with trades and just drafts over the last couple of years.
Brian Hayes, man. Brian Hayes is the truth.
I agree. Brian Hayes is probably going to turn that franchise around, become that franchise player, but is it too early to say that the Pirates are going to be getting that turnaround, or do we still think they're just 1, maybe 2 years away from turning that franchise around?
I mean, what are we calling a turnaround? They're definitely still 1 or 2 years away from making the playoffs.
So I say if they finish the season with 70 or more wins, do you call that a successful season for Pittsburgh?
What they end last year with?
I'll double check. I believe they were 60 wins last year. I'll double check that one real quick.
Any improvement's a success. I mean, in my opinion. I mean, it's not like they went out and spent a bunch of money, and like you got 10 more wins. You should have got 10 more wins. But they're bringing up homegrown talent. They're, building through their minor league system, through, making trades for young prospects, through identifying talent in the draft and grooming that talent in their system. So, yeah, I would say that that's a successful season for Pittsburgh.
They were 61 and 101 last season. So would you give them that 9-win differential to be a successful season, or would you say get to 75 wins to be a successful season?
I mean, you're still, considerably under 500 at 70 wins. So it's still a successful season, moving up and not spending a shit ton of money. Yeah, I think it's successful.
Okay. But I'm not calling them overhyped. I'm just saying maybe they're kind of They're kind of remind me of the Mariners a couple years ago, kind of slowly building up. And maybe we'll see them just kind of be that team that's maybe be the NL version of Seattle in a couple years. Will they'll be kind of on the borderline of being a playoff team, but not really there yet.
All right, Adam. It's time to break down this weekend's preview.
Let's do it.
Since we're heading into May, the first weekend in May, Mother's Day weekend. Don't forget to get your mom, or if you have young children, get your wife something nice. So White Sox, Red Sox, battle of the Sox. I'm not even sure why we have this as a preview because both of these teams fucking suck right now. But I'm totally joking. They should be better. White Sox, like we said, are 10-13. Boston is 10-14. Adam, what do we think here? What's going to happen? It's in Boston, correct?
Yeah, so the White Sox will be in Boston, and fun fact, the Sunday game will be the first Sunday morning broadcast on NBC and Peacock, so happy Mother's Day. If your mother is a fan of the White Sox or Red Sox, do breakfast in bed, turn on some baseball in the morning, kick off Mother's Day.
What morning are we talking about here? Sunday morning? What time?
I believe it's at 10 a.m., 11:35 a.m. start time, Eastern time.
That's not morning to me. That's like a midday baseball game. That's normal. If you were going to say like it was like 9 a.m. Eastern, and I'm looking at like a literal wake up 8 a.m. baseball game for me here in Mountain Time, I would have been like, what the fuck? Or 7, that would be 7, dude. No.
Hawaii time, that's going to be early if you're in Hawaii.
Do you think Hawaiians watch baseball?
I mean,
does Hawaii have a baseball team? Hawaii, the university?
I believe they do, but again, I'm not. I was only in Hawaii for a week for my honeymoon, and I watched college football at 9:00 in the morning, so I was content.
And that was probably like the 1 o'clock game, you know?
Yeah, 1 o'clock games indeed. Off topic.
White Sox, Red Sox. Let's go.
Here we go. So we got Vasquez and Eloy pitching in Game 1. Dallas Keuchel versus Pivetta in Game 2, and then Cease versus Waka in Game 3. I like the Game 3 matchup for Cease versus Michael Waka. I think that's going to be your big matchup right there, your Sunday matchup right there. I give the White Sox the edge in this series 2-3. I got the Red Sox Angels on right now. They just blew a lead to Los Angeles, so they're tied 4-4 in the bottom of the ninth. I think the Sox are finally slowly, baby steps, dripping water from a faucet, turning it around. So I'll give the White Sox.
Which Sox?
The White Sox, or
I didn't know, man. They're playing the Red Sox, bro.
Yeah, you have to say the Sox are winning. You gotta be like, which one, the Bloody Sox or the Black Sox? Be more specific.
Well, or like when it was the Kentucky-Arizona national championship game. Oh, I bet you the Wildcats win. It's like, yeah, bro, thanks.
Yeah,
good call.
I'll place money on that bet.
Yeah. This is one of those series that just makes me think the Red Sox are going to win, but it's probably going to be the Sox 2-1 also. But I'm leaning that Boston wins, but I'm going to go official pick 2-1 White Sox. Cardinals, Giants. Game 1, Mikolas versus Webb. Game 2, Hicks versus TBD for the Giants. Game 3, Steven Matz versus Alex Cobb. Game 4, Hudson versus Rodon. Cardinals are playing well. Giants are playing well. This is a really good series. It's in San Francisco. Webb and Rodon are phenomenal. Cobb is having a good start to a season, but Mikolas and Matz are also having good starts to their season. I could see this going 2-2, but I think I'm going Giants 3-1. Adam, what do you got?
I'll give a series split. I'll give the Giants. I think the Giants take Game 1, Game 4, just based on Webb and Rodon pitching. Obviously, Carlos Rodon's having a great season in San Francisco. Webb's having another fantastic season, so I give the Giants the first and the last game, and then I give the Cardinals the middle of the series, so I'll go series split 2-2.
Okay. Boo. Just kidding. I don't care. I mean, you can pick what you got to pick.
And you had Giants, right?
Giants 3-1. Yep. I'm going to end up having to never bet on the Cardinals after saying this again, but I have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth about the Cardinals right now. Especially, I know why. They fucking hit Pete Alonso in the head. Jerks. And then Arenado had his bitch fit. Dude, no. Manny Machado, best third baseman in baseball. Arenado can suck a duck. Rays versus Mariners is our final series to discuss. I'll take the first two. You take the last two, Adam. McClanahan versus Ray for game 1. Fleming versus Gilbert, who's having a good year, for game 2.
All right, then you got Rosamond versus Gonzalez in game 3. Yarberg versus Flex in game 4. Rays and Mariners, I mean, they're two really good teams out of the American League. Rays sit at 15-10. Seattle sitting at 12-13. This is probably one of the tougher series to call, just with how even these teams are on paper, in my opinion, and just how we know the Rays are consistent year after year. They just finished off a sweep of Oakland, so they're going to be going into Seattle with a pretty good winning streak going on. 7-3 in their last 10. They finally got the run differential up to +8. 3 games back at the Yankees. And I'll give the Rays the series win. I'll give them a 3-1 series win.
I am an easy 2-2 on this. Both these teams are almost exactly even in everything. I don't see a dominant pitching differential. McClanahan and Rasmussen are both pitching extremely well, which is great because Robbie Ray versus McClanahan is going to be awesome. Gilbert, I think, has the edge over Fleming. Flex and Yarbrough on Monday. I can't remember how Yarborough's during this year. I could see it going 3-1 Rays, but I think Seattle's bats are doing well enough to make it a series split, especially since it's in Seattle and Tampa's got to travel all the way out there from the farthest coast in the land, other than Miami.
Yeah, West Coast trips, if you're on the eastern part of the Midwest, are not the best road trips to have to deal with, especially if you have to go out there for a week and a half, depending on the schedule that's laid out in front of you.
Definitely. Well, Mr. Kunos, I think this has been my favorite episode that we've ever done ever. But I say that I like that every week,
Exactly.
I think it's becoming more and more fun to do this. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. Again, follow the podcast, like, subscribe, comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Follow the podcast on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. Find Adam and myself on Twitter. We're always down to interact. Throw us a follow on Twitter. Shoot us a tweet. Ask us any question you want to know. Love to hear from you guys. It was a really fun show, and you guys have an awesome week.
You as well. Again, special thanks to Jonathan of Baseball Harmony for joining the top of the show. Remember to give him a follow at baseballharmony, and check out his webpage, baseballharmony.com. And again, Chris, I agree with you. Probably a great show tonight, just talking baseball stats. I could do that all night.
Amen, man. Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good night, guys.